Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal International. I'm called Morinti. Our major stories. There's been outright condemnation following an attack in a parish in a Presbyterian church in Bali, Inyanga, that has left one dead and dozens others injured. In a communique assigned August 22, the PCC moderator condemns what he describes as barbaric torture on God's children. The first vice president of the SDF party on his part condemns the attack and calls on government to end the crisis, which has for 5 years now been destroying Cameroon. And it's been a tense Monday in Elak Oku in Wei Division, a northwest region of Cameroon. Armed men are reported to have carried out arson attacks on the mayor's home, the council building, and the Oku market, accusing traders of selling on Ghost Town Day. And the Basa Bakokos of the Yambi village have protested the illegal occupation of Via land by those they described as foreigners. Those who are major stories, the details right ahead. Good evening once more. Welcome to the 6:15 Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal International. It's been a tense Monday in Oku, a northwest region of Cameroon. Armed men are reported to have carried out arson attacks on the mayor's home, the council building, and the Oku market, accusing traders of selling on Ghost Town Day. Vehicles, tools, and other valuables were also vandalized and burned. The panic-stricken residents complained of gunshots fired in the air for several hours. Today's incident, according to some inhabitants, forced others to run for their safety in the bush. We'll certainly come back to that in a subsequent edition of the news. There has been a widespread condemnation following attack in a Presbyterian church in Bali, a northwest region of Cameroon, that left one dead and dozens others injured. Christians of the church were worshipping when armed men said to be dressed in military attire spread bullets, leading to casualty. The details in the following story with Regina Leketandak.
It is in this over 100-year-old German-built structure of the Presbyterian Church Tangfuang Parish in Bali, Mesam Division of the Northwest Region, that Sunday's church service turned sour yesterday. Men dressed in military gear reportedly opened fire as service was ongoing. In the process, a woman was shot dead right inside the church, while the pastor and some worshippers were wounded. Reports say it all started when a loud explosion was heard around the entrance to the front palace, followed immediately by heavy firing, thereby giving the hypothesis that stray bullets might have caused the damage. Both the dead and the wounded were rushed to the Bali District Hospital, situated about a kilometer away, using the church stretcher. At this period, when neither motorcycles nor vehicles are allowed to circulate in the entire subdivision, following a 3-month ban and a counter ban from the senior divisional officer for Mesam and the separatist fighters, respectively. The attack has drawn widespread condemnation home and abroad, with people questioning why attack Christians when all they were doing was just worshipping.
And the PCC moderator has reacted to the attack on the Presbyterian Church, Tangfuang, Bali, describing the incident as barbaric torture that God's children have been subjected to in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon for the 5th year running. In a communique assigned August 22, 2021, the PCC moderator says what is more frustrating is the hardening of hearts despite repeated appeals of a ceasefire to both the government of Cameroon and separatist fighters, disclosing that those who suffer more are innocent civilians. He equally condemned in strong terms what he described as unnecessary and inhuman treatment meted on God's children by those who are supposed to protect them. The Presbyterian Church, through its moderator, calls on both parties to cease fire unconditionally, especially on Sundays, and that a proper investigation be conducted by government and other international organizations and those responsible brought to book. We'll come back to that in our subsequent editions of the news. Meantime, the first vice president of the Social Democratic Front Party, the SDF, and former presidential candidate Joshua Osei has equally condemned the attacks on the church in Bali that led to at least 100 and many others injured. According to Joshua Osei, authorities must take serious and immediate action to bring perpetrators of last Sunday's acts to book. Joshua Osei says, and I quote, "Taking away one's life is a crime against humanity, was still doing so in a place of worship, a temple of individual refuge, and a sacred gathering place is a despicable act." Osei insists it is time to do everything to put an end to the crisis which for 5 years now has been destroying the Cameroon government is still to react to Bali attacks. We stay in the northwest region of Cameroon, but this time around we take you to Abatibo, which remain one of the heat zones of the crisis, rocking the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. School reopening for the past years has been timid, taking to the security challenges. Ex-students of PHS, that is PHS, Presbyterian High School, Abatibo, want to change the narrative. They want children to go back to school this academic year. They sat in a General Assembly here in Douala. Let's watch this story. This is a picture of Presbyterian High School, Abatibo, and other schools in this subdivision before the crisis in the restive northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. Today, the schools are a shadow of themselves. No students, no teachers on campus. The fear of the unknown is omnipresent. Ex-students of the Presbyterian High School, Abatibo, are disturbed. They want children to go back to school.
It's a situation for us to assess the situation back home, especially in our school, and to see how we can encourage, we should continue to encourage kids to go to school.
The boys around, we are trying to educate them that at least they should permit schools to go on. At least children around should be able to go on, because not everybody parent at home have that capacity to send somebody in this side to school.
At the General Assembly in Douala, the alumni say they are ready to exploit every strategy to convince parents to send their children to school, despite the security challenges. A school that has been existing for over 80 years, attracting even students from Equatorial Guinea.
It's a gradual process. It cannot be an abrupt process. It's a gradual process. We begin by keeping the campus clean. They see that now there's something being done in the campus. They will start looking at other means to see how we can convince them to bring the students there. But we need to start somewhere.
We have identified where some of the problems are. Some of the classrooms have become dilapidated. We're trying to refurbish them. Toilets, some roofs have been blown off by wind. So we're taking care of all of that.
Following the Anglophone crisis, which has been hitting the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon since 2016, most schools in Abatibo and in other parts of the northwest region have been deserted and some destroyed. PHS Abatibo was one of those schools that saw its dorms and classrooms deserted due to threats from separatist fighters who had called on students and teachers to boycott schools. The Bassa Bakokos of the Yambi village have protested what they call illegal occupation of their land by those who call foreigners. The invaders are said to be coming from war-torn northwest region of Cameroon, who have opened farms in the village without authorization from the people. The villagers have gone on rampage demanding immediate eviction of the strangers, as we hear in this report with Regina Leke Tandak.
The Bassa Bakokos of Yaba village in the Sanaga Maritime Division destroy makeshift structures constructed by those they describe as foreigners coming from the war-torn northwest region and some from the west region. They are accusing them of illegal occupation of their land. The last time we were here, we were attacked with machetes. They seized our telephones and our wallets. These are people we do not know where they are coming from. They have machetes and arms to massacre us in our own village. For weeks, there has been tensions and confrontation on this piece of land. The Basaba Kokos decry the fact that the strangers have constructed pigsties, banana farms, palm plantations to name this, on their land without authorization. They are pointing accusing fingers at certain administrators for complicity. There is an administrator at Edea 1 Council who has been selling lands to these strangers. One of the strangers told us when he wanted to buy a land, he went and met the chief, who refused. But when he went to Edea, it was a divisional officer that gave him the permission. The traditional ruler of Yabi has tried to calm flaring tempers of his people to no avail. We want these foreigners who are occupying our land to come and make themselves known, because as of now, we do not know them. We are living in troubled times with lots of insecurity. If you have invaders on your land, you cannot imagine what it may lead to. All efforts to calm the population ended in a fiasco as the people demand the immediate eviction of the strangers on their land.
War-torn countries are battling on how to curb a surge in gender-based violence. This is the focus of a workshop organized by the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center holding in Cameroon. Kejan Henry Atembe sat through that conference. His story.
There is no secret to the world that gender-based violence is taking a toll in conflict-ridden areas on the African continent. Despite the multiple protective instruments at local and international levels, there is a surge in violence against young girls and women. Professor Kwesi Anning of the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center is leading a team of experts to
drives what we are seeking to do. First and foremost is the extent of the shock, the deniability, but also that we have signed on to multiple international instruments that people don't know about. So in all the 4 or 6 countries in which the research has been done, there's a huge gap between signing on to the international instruments, domesticating the aspects of the instrument that are necessary, and ensuring that those institutions that have to apply those instruments actually do so.
These leaders are drawn from the civil society, the church, the academia, the judiciary, the police and the media to address the question of gender-based violence. They are meeting in Douala on August 23, 2021 to prevent and respond to the situation.
We know that Cameroon has been facing serious security challenges for the past few years. And then on daily basis we hear on TV, over radio, that so many numbers of girls have been raped. And so it's on daily basis. We were not used to that in the past.
With the recognition that women and young girls are the most vulnerable who suffer all forms of sexual and gender-based violence, especially in conflict areas, the crusade for the respect of the legal instruments will continue in Nigeria, the Central African Republic, Niger, South Sudan and Cameroon, torn apart by conflict.
And that was it for this edition. Thanks so much for watching. But coming up next is The Brief with Anon Gefak in Yaoundé. As for me, I'll be back tomorrow for another edition. Thanks so much.